What's going on everyone? How's it going? It's Nolan here and welcome back to another sneak peek video. Today we're going to be discussing Nightfall, the modifiers you want to equip for your Nightfall, and the modifiers that you don't want to equip for your Nightfall to get some easy 100k runs. Having a 100k score in Nightfalls is more important than ever. Now it gives you extra powerful gear, and also having 100 plus k scores will also help you increase your Nightfall rank with Zavala. I've been running a lot of Nightfalls with different combinations of modifiers to try to find out what is the easiest and most effective way to constantly get 100k. And I think we actually found a combination of perks that can do that pretty easily, even without handicapping yourself. Yes, you can get to 100k pretty easily without a handicap. Alright, so let's start by talking about the modifiers that you want to run in Nightfall to make the most out of your points, and the ones that you don't. So first of all, we're going to start with the one that you definitely don't want, even though it seems like a great modifier. And some of you guys may not like this, but it's actually heavyweight. Heavyweight increases your heavy weapon damage and also increases the heavy ammo drops. And while the actual modifier is great, more damage and more ammo for your heavy weapons, the thing that it does to your score, it is not so great. If you enable heavyweight, it takes a full point from your multiplier. So if your multiplier was 2.8, with heavyweight, it's going to be 1.8. Just cutting down your points dramatically, so you definitely don't want heavyweight. I know it's a great modifier and we all love it, but at this point it's just not worth it. I just don't recommend heavyweight in any situation. In any Nightfall, just no heavyweight. Alright, so now let's take a look at the modifiers that you actually want to run in Nightfalls. And the first one is Match Game. Enemy shields are resistant to all unmatched elemental damage. So if you see an arc shield, you're gonna have to shoot it with some arc damage, or it's gonna take a lot of damage to break that shield. This is the modifier that gives you the biggest increase to your multiplier, giving you a full point. If you're at 1, you put on some Match Game and it will take it to 2, which is pretty good. The only bad thing about this is that it requires some coordination from you and your team. You all gotta have some different elements to make sure that you can break any element shield. I recommend that you assign everyone two elements that they should focus on, with everyone having a different element for their special weapons to make sure that you're gonna always be able to break any shield that you come across. It also kind of helps out if you actually scout the Nightfall beforehand, so you can see all of the shields that you run into, because sometimes you run into a lot more shields of a certain kind than some other shields. Like the Nightfall this week, the Corrupted, you find a lot of void shields, but only a couple of solar shields. So while Magic Game sounds kind of annoying, if you're coordinated with your teammates, Magic Game is not really too bad, and it gives you a huge boost to your Nightfall multiplier, so I definitely recommend that you run this. Next up is actually my favorite of the modifiers, which is kind of weird since it actually is a disadvantage, but is Momentum. Regeneration is disabled when you're standing still, but you are always regenerating as long as you're on the move. It's very great for staying alive, and also if you want to use run through a part of the Nightfall, Momentum is your best friend, since you're basically just constantly regenning if you run through something. The thing with Momentum is that you definitely have to get used to it. And after running Momentum for a while, you actually start to kind of miss it when you don't have it, since you don't have the option to just kind of start health regen whenever you want, just by running. So Momentum is a very good modifier that you just gotta get used to, but I got a feeling that once you get used to it, you're gonna love it, just like I do. Okay, so far we got 2 disadvantages, so we got room for 1 more in the card. And I actually have 2 different options that I usually run. The first one is Blackout. Enemy melee attacks are more powerful, but you also have no radar. Blackout is not as bad as it used to be. I know we're all traumatized from Blackout from when everything just one hit us, but while they do a lot more damage now, things won't just 1 punch you. Now they like 3 punch you. So it's not as bad as it used to be. The no radar is also kind of annoying, but as long as you're looking around and aware of your surroundings, you should be pretty fine with Blackout. But with Blackout, a lot of times depends on the strike. Is there a lot of close range fights that you're gonna find yourself in, or is it mostly long range where you can just keep your distance from the enemies? If it's long range, then Blackout is basically used a free modifier. You don't have to worry about too many things trying to melee you. But if it's close range and there's a lot of things trying to melee you, then Blackout may not be a good idea. So Blackout is a very situational modifier. It really depends on the strike that you're trying to do. Just take a look at the strike. Is it close range? Is there a lot of melee enemies? and then decide if Blackout is the one for you. And the last one that we have that you could probably take instead of Blackout, which is the one I usually take, is Extinguish. If everyone dies in the fire team, then you are returned to orbit. So yeah, basically there's no wiping in the Nightfall. If you wipe, you gotta restart the Nightfall from the beginning. And this modifier usually comes down to how good you and your teammates are. Can you all stay alive and just do the Nightfall without wiping? If so, maybe Extinguish is gonna be for you, because besides that, it doesn't really affect anything else. It doesn't make the enemy stronger, it doesn't take away your radar, it doesn't take away ammo. It's just a passive modifier that only activates if you actually die. So as long as you're not dying and wiping, Extinguish is just a free increase to your points basically. So Extinguish is completely dependent on you and your teammates if you can go through a Nightfall without wiping. But if dying is not really an issue for you, then I definitely recommend Extinguish. Doesn't really affect you in a negative way when it comes to the gameplay, and it just increases your score. And lastly, I probably don't have to say this, but you always want to run Ascend. It's 25% extra damage to whatever element you choose. If you choose Solar, Arc, or Void, it's just 25% extra damage that you deal, but also take, so it changes depending on whatever Nightfall you're running. And you usually want to go for the element that the less amount of enemies deal. If there's just a couple of enemies that deal solar damage, go for that one, even if they're annoying, because once you deal with them, then you're the only one that has the extra damage, and that's pretty good. And make sure that you have some good weapons for whatever Sense you're running. If you're running Solar, Sleeper, Whisper of the Worm, they were great. If you're running Void, the Fighting Lion just destroys everything. Give the Fighting Lion a try if you're running Void Singe. You're never gonna go back once you run that. That thing is disgusting, and it's just such a good weapon. So this is how you typically want a card to look. We got Solar Singe, Match Game, Momentum, and some Extinguish. This will give us a 2.6 modifier without even putting on a handicap. So the enemies are usually gonna be at a regular 540 level, and we're gonna be getting all these points. And since you don't have a handicap, you can actually run through this pretty easily. You're gonna be fighting the enemies at your normal light level, so you're gonna be doing as much damage as you usually do. The only real problem comes with the shields. But as long as you're staying on top of the shields with Match Game and shooting the correct shield, popping the shields, letting your team know that the enemy that had the shield no longer has a shield, so they can actually do full damage, you should be able to run through the strikes pretty quickly. Getting to the boss at around between 10 to 12 minutes. That's usually the time that we take to get to the boss. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. Things happen, so it varies quite a bit how long it takes you to actually get there. But you should be getting to the boss with 100k points, or very close to 100k. Also, since you arrived there at around 12 minutes, you still have 3 more minutes of full multiplier score without losing any points. And in those 3 minutes you could probably kill the boss, so you're just gonna be increasing your score more and more. And this is the reason that I think that this is the easiest way to get 100k on every Nightfall. With these modifiers, they just work really great together. You're not putting yourself at a handicap, and as long as you have a bit of communication, not even that much, you can actually get 100k pretty easily. Anyways, hopefully this will help you guys. As always, leave a like if you did, dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't already, share the video if you think this will help somebody, and I'll see you on my next video. Take care everyone, have a good day.